My name is Mike and I make videos of my allotment and the occasional woodworking project. As you can see today it is raining, so I can't go to the plot, but I'm taking advantage by doing the intro for this week's video. Well, after the busy week I had last week, this week I've succumbed to tackling my rhubarb plot. This is the time of the year when you should, if you've got rhubarb to be moved, this is probably the latest time you can do it. Or should I say, up to May is probably the latest time you should do it. And rhubarb should be split and moved approximately every 5 years, and I have to tell you that on my plot, in the 7 years I've had it, I've never split my rhubarb and moved it on. And I inherited all the rhubarb that's on my plot except for one plant which I was gifted to by a leaving plot holder who was moving to Oxford, and he had a large collection of different varieties of rhubarb. And being a doctor, he believed in the medical advantages of regularly eating rhubarb. This is the plant when I first planted it, and this is where it possibly is some years later. I haven't a clue where it is, and I'm ashamed. Further to my shame, I've left this bed to go to wrack and ruin, resulting in a reduction in harvests over the past years. And this I must remedy. This video has the potential of being the winner of the most boring upload on YouTube.
And the winner is Rhubarb, Allotment UK.
Slow, boring nature and just reducing the weeds and obstructions that I've let go in this bed, but slightly in my favour. One of the problems is that the bed has basically been taken over by horseradish. Now, I've not planted the horseradish there. It was there when I took the bed over. I don't know whether it was planted there or it's growing wild. You can get wild horseradish plants in this area that blow in, and it's quite an invasive plant. So I've got the rhubarb to split, I've got horseradish to remove, and I've got a lot of bindweed that's invaded into the plot. So I'm going to try and interject into the video any anecdotes about rhubarb which come to mind while you're watching me struggling to put this plot to rights. I started the rescue at the north end of the bed, where the horseradish is the most abundant. I tried to tackle the hardest job first. The bindweed had become entangled in the horseradish roots, and I needed a hand fork to prise them apart. A trench began to form, and the barrow holding the soil was in the way. Therefore, it was a good idea to move it out of the way and deposit the soil on an open bed. Forming a lead trench is the first step in the process of double digging. My excavation in some semblance of line and square, plus I require some means of holding back the intrusion of surrounding weeds. I decided the timber bought for bed 3 would give us use on this bed, and I humped over one of the boards and clamped it to bed 6, making it secure. I measured out a 2 foot wide width for the path, and then marking its position using a medieval pencil. Well, in actual fact it's a screwdriver. A nail would have done, but it's still much better than a pencil. Then, using a medieval square with its modern day equivalent, striking the dimension using the old-fashioned scribe. I've had this medieval square a long time, and it's so simple to make and accurate, and I've said it before, engineers work to the thousandths of a degree, but carpenters just get it right. I use the 3-4-5 method on inch by inch laths, bolted together. Simple. A short end of 2-inch thick material to establish the inside face. Then I measured the centre of the bed, as it's always a useful guide later on, and then marked the inside face of the other raised bed side, plus the extreme width of the bed. And then, just eyeing up where the next timber will go, I brought it in and laid it down in position. And then we can restart forming the lead trench in the double digging process. Not only horseradish and bindweed, but large lumps of flint are also encountered. These aren't a problem in the gardening process. I mean, with the no dig method, you leave them in and they actually improve drainage and also sort of collect water around them. In double digging, they are definitely an obstruction and have got to be removed. And you do know I am a no dig advocate, but with the horseradish, if you don't double dig it and get down to that second double dig layer, then the horseradish will just continue to grow. And if I use the no dig method of putting in the cardboard and the compost, it won't make any difference to the horseradish. It would still just appear, and when it broke through, would thank you for it. So you have to get down to that double dig second layer. Storm clouds appearing. What are they coming to bring? It's about 11 o'clock, so lunch will be soon. So a trip to the tip is in order. And if it's wet weather that arrives, then one cannot double dig, because the soil and the bindweed and all those other things stick to the spade and onto your boots. So we have to accept what arrives. Well, fortunately, it didn't rain a lot. It was just a very light shower while I was on the way to the tip. So after lunch, I was able to return to the plot, and now I can start digging with the double dig method in earnest. And hopefully, with a bit of luck and the wind behind me, I can have it finished for today, or at least tomorrow. To help with my narration of the double dig, you've seen this before, and I thought it might be useful to show you the mind sketch that I did when I formulated my script. Catch you later. If you have not got any rhubarb on your plot, then now is the time to put it in. And if you have rhubarb and never split it, again, now is the time. I can recommend Cumbrian Homestead, as he has just uploaded a video putting in his rhubarb. And I could be a couple of weeks yet before I'm ready. So here we come to the boring bit, digging. So that's a cue for me to go into an anecdote. And the first anecdote that comes to my mind was my first awareness of rhubarb, which, funnily enough, was in my early years. Dad was in the army, Mum was on war work, and because of that, I would be palmed out to various aunts to be looked after. And one aunt I had lived a place called Renthorpe on the outskirts of Wakefield. And the journey to the nursery, and then later as I got older to the school, took me through a rhubarb field. And sometimes I would walk with my aunt to my grandparents to be given back to my mother, who would collect me at my grandparents' home. And we would walk through a place called Ardsley. And as we went there, we'd pass along some low brick sheds, which I was told is where rhubarb was grown. And I thought, but we've seen the rhubarb fields. Why are they growing? Why is rhubarb being grown in sheds? And that's when I found that for the first 2 years of its life, rhubarb was planted into the open fields, and then after 2 years was brought into these sheds in complete darkness, and the rhubarb was forced. And the area that we walked through, or we were in, was called the Rhubarb Triangle, which is an area of land in between Leeds, Wakefield and Morley. And later, one of the famous people was the sportswoman Beryl Burton, famous cyclist. Winner of many trophies, one of them being section 19 of the Tour de France. What has a cyclist got to do with rhubarb? Well, sportsmen that are amateurs need an income to subsidise the sport, and throughout all of Beryl Burton's working life she worked in the low sheds growing rhubarb. Another interesting fact about rhubarb is that if you go into one of these low sheds in the dark and it's very quiet, you can actually hear the rhubarb growing. Sounds like a creaking noise, and that's the noise it makes when it's growing. Not a lot of people know that. Well, this is as far as I've come this week. I was hoping to finish this dig tomorrow, but tomorrow came and so did the snow. Would you believe it? And you can't go out on the plot when it's snowing, and that finished that day. So we're now into next week, so it just leaves me to say I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you really liked it, a thumbs up would be appreciated. Do please comment. I love to see your comments, and if you've not already done so, please subscribe. Turn further notifications of any uploads. Please press that bell icon to get notification. Which leads me now to say, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care and look after yourself. With luck, I'll see you next week. Leaving me just to say, take care and bye.